It's the 25th of June, a day that's already historic when it comes to Indian cricket, and a day that we won't forget. A day where a bunch of dreamers decided कि boss आज अपना दिन है और आज उन्होंने करके दिखाया. Fantastic victory for the Afghans. We are here to talk about that and a lot more. We've got Jeet and Nikhil joining us today. Jeet, how are the emotions right now and why are you so happy?
Man, we got what we wanted. That's why I'm really, really happy. यार मतलब कहाँ से कहाँ, dude. We expected them to make it through the group stages. I know we were kind of divided on which is going to be the other team, but Afghanistan, we always felt as they are a certainty to make it through to the Super 8s. But वहाँ पर भी मतलब थोड़े matchups वैसे थे where we were like यार मतलब होगा कि नहीं होगा. But luckily they had the venues working in their favor against the bigger opponents, and it was fantastic for them to pull it off when they had the opportunity. So absolutely pumped for Afghanistan.
I mean, we can't stress enough about that, Nikhil Bhai. Sure, there was like this the kind of game, this is the kind of chaos we've come to expect of Bangladesh, and Afghanistan also just decided to throw caution to the wind. Matlab, kya game tha? Talk about the seesawing, talk about the rain, talk about everything that was happening around the game. सुबह 6 बजे उठने का मजा तो आया भाई.
बिल्कुल 6 बजे उठने का मजा आया. थोड़े एक्टिंग क्लासेस मिले which I don't think anybody is going to ever forget. But no, jokes apart, it was just how much character shown by a side that is a lot more hungry for it. And again, without throwing daggers at anyone, a side that is just 20 years into their cricket, it's already playing their first world semi-final. So, and they played against a side that did not even want to get there. So, I mean, I know 12 over mein banna, I was actually very scared how people felt that this was easily going to be done. Okay, अरे they will make it in 13 overs. तो भाई नहीं था वैसा deck कभी भी for them to get there. And I think even Bangladesh felt the same way कि नहीं है. But I understand नहीं होना. But you got into a very good position where you needed 43 out of 24 odd or 20 odd. And उसके बाद, as you said, हमको नहीं जीतना. हमारा plan नहीं है. Then you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it was a tad bit unfortunate there ki bhai, why didn't Bangladesh go for it? If anything, if anyone wants to debate the spirit of cricket or anything like that, it is ki bhai, Bangladesh, why didn't you go for the win? Why didn't you go for that 12.1 overs wala target? That's it. That's the only debate that needs to be had ki chal kya raha tha wahan pe. Sure, I understand at 50 for 5, it seemed like they'd lose the game. But it's not like losing the game would have helped them with anything, or winning the game, just winning the game would have helped them with anything. So might as well try and go the full distance and see. Who knows? You never know what can happen, because Afghanistan themselves, it's not like they were always favorites. They somehow managed to overcome the mighty Aussies, and now they've also shown the boss we are here, and now they will be playing their semi-final against South Africa in Trinidad. Again, a surface that's going to sort of favor them. So it seems like things are falling in place for, of course, Afghanistan. Funnily enough, Mohammad Nabi has defeated 44 nations, 2 test-playing nations remaining, South Africa and India. No better occasion for Mohammad Nabi to be able to do that, to be able to sort of complete that list as well. Let's see onwards and upwards for them, of course. Anyways, time for us to now move on to the first segment of the episode, where we discuss the game, what happened and what not, in what we call About Last Night. Yep, time for About Last Night. पहले match summary दिखा देते हैं यहाँ पे. हुआ क्या? First of all, Afghanistan won the toss and opted to bat first, which I wasn't sure what to make of, because बारिश होने वाला था. Usually teams prefer chasing when rain is round the corner, because DLS pass score का पता लगता है. So you are well aware of the targets and whatnot. Surprisingly, Afghanistan opted to bat first, and they never really sort of took off. The start was a bit sluggish. पहले 11 ओवर में सिर्फ 50-60 रन ही बने थे. इनफैक्ट they were at 59 when they lost their first wicket, and in the 11th over, Ibrahim Zadran with a 29 ball 80, not sure, a knock that you often see in T20s. Then Rahmanullah Gurbaz, of course, was their highest run scorer, 43 off 55, of course, as usual. Rashid Khan chipping with a very, very, very crucial cameo there in the fag end of the innings. 10 ball 19 that helped Afghanistan go past 100 and reach 115. A score that you would have called par in New York. Not sure if that was going to be the case in St. Vincent. Once again, Rishad Hossain, pick of the bowlers for Bangladesh, bhai saab. Usne to wahan pe, matlab, bawal macha diya hai. Rishad Hossain, we've spoken about him. It's not like we've been caught, off guard ki bhai kahan se aa gaya. But again, Nikhil bhai, in terms of how good he's come for Bangladesh, 14 wickets, third highest wicket taker in the World Cup this edition. fantastic season for him.
Yeah, I think it is a great way to just cap off a very good World Cup for him and for Bangladesh. We've discussed in the past how they don't get leggies. I mean, you can count them on your fingers how many leggies they've had. This guy is tall, he's using his height, and he has excellent control. And I think that goes a long way in ensuring that he's there in the game at all points of time. And I think Bangladesh were also smart enough to realize and use him as a wicket taking option. Sometimes that can also go wrong, where you're trying to just not take wickets with some of the bowling options, which at times I felt Afghanistan were guilty of when they bowled an extra over of Naveen, when they bowled an extra over of Navi, where they could have easily got a Noor in the game earlier. So, but again, see, at that point of time, you have to understand, okay, this is possibly their plan. But for Bangladesh, the bowling has not been a problem for them. I think they did a great job in terms of keeping themselves in the game. And Rishad played a massive part. I think Shakib also bowled really well. Should have had that catch taken very early. Probably would have helped Afghanistan actually had he taken that catch. Because it would have gotten others who would have either hit or they would have gotten out. But eventually it worked out. I think Rishad will be more disappointed by his dismissal than the wickets. Because wickets उसने लिए, but he just had to stay there with Das Dada. I mean, of all the games that Das Dada had to come good, it was today. This mad game, mad game.
Yep, definitely a tad bit unfortunate for him to see how everything unfolded on the other end. In fact, he's just the third batter in T20 World Cup history to have carried his bat. Chris Gale and I'm forgetting who the other one was. It's Wesley Baresi for Netherlands in 2014. So yeah, these are the two other batters. Tad bit unfortunate, but kuch bol nahi sakte. Let's just have the match summary out once again. Jeet, yesterday when Nikhil, Pramod and I previewed the game, we'd spoken about how this is going to be a battle between the two batting units because दोनों के bowlers काफी sorted है, दोनों के bowling units काफी sorted है. Everyone seems to be clicking. Once again was the case. The Bangla bowlers did well, so did the Afghan. It was all about batting and who was going to step up. Unfortunately for Bangladesh, no one stepped up once again. Like that was always going to be the issue for them.
It was. It also came down to how many of these batters were in form for both the sides. If you compare or you stack up the two sides, you had more batters in form for Afghanistan. I know they were also heavily reliant on the openers to get the job done. But for Bangladesh, nobody was quite clicking. Even Tawheed Hridoy had a few good performances to begin the campaign, but after that, he also fizzled out. So they were lacking that form factor as well all through their batting lineup. So it was always going to be a challenge for their batting, come up the goods in a game that is very, very important for them. So again, I mean, Afghanistan, their openers probably took a lot more responsibility upon themselves to get the job done, knowing how the middle order was struggling and every batter was struggling. But I think after the power play, they were 27 without loss. So they scored at 4.5 per over, then 5.3 or 5.5 per over in the middle overs, and then at the dead just 7 per over, and they lost a cluster of wickets. So I felt that they were like 5 or 10 runs under the par score because the average first inning score here was 130. And looking at the surface, I felt that this pitch was a lot more spicier than the game that we had against Australia. So I thought 120, 125 should suffice. It should be good enough against Bangladesh's batting lineup. But I didn't expect that rain to fall right after the end of the first inning. So that turned things around with the outfield getting wet, the ball getting wet, and then skidding on nicely to the bat. So the spinners also would have kind of gotten ineffective in the power play. So a lot relied upon the Afghan pacers, and luckily they came up with the goods to get the job done.
Yeah, definitely. And Naveen-ul-Haq in particular, again, a name that tends to go under the radar given how Fazalak Farooqi has been amongst the wickets. But boy, did he deliver. Again, he's always bowled well. It was only a matter of him getting those wickets as well. And today he did get that forfeit, a well-deserved forfeit, and also poetic that he was also the one to take the last wicket and seal the deal for Afghanistan. But we cannot, of course, look past this, Nikhil bhai. Matlab, kya bole yaar? Just the sheer audacity again. I might laugh with this, but I don't think I'm upset with it or anything because I myself would have probably indulged in something like that. At the end of the day, this is not the first time this is happening. Time delaying tactics have been used for the better part of the last century in cricket. It's a very common tactic. There's nothing new. Sure, maybe the extent of it can be sort of laughed upon, but nothing new, right? And just the fact कि ट्रॉट भाई वहां पे बोले कि आराम से खेलो, इसलिए मतलब रोक ही दिया गेम को. आराम से खेलने का नहीं, बस exactly. Say no more. That was all Gulbadin Naib had to say. Bas.
Yeah, I think it was the honesty of it that got to people in terms of how honest and raw it looked. As you said, this is not the first time, it is not the last time. It is just that because they are in a stage where they are not learning those tactics. Do you think a team decided to use sandpaper for the first time just that very day? कि सुन ना आज मेरे को लगता है आज ना let's use sandpaper today, bro. Let's try it. It doesn't happen like that. So you are. I mean, we've seen this in the past when Tahir fell, just lied on the ground against Sri Lanka when they wanted to draw a test match, and then Quinton de Kock and everybody, of course, was laughing it out. So there's where your spirit comes into the picture in terms of only talks, and you only talk about it because you don't want to do it in the same way. They're like, hey, ऐसे कैसे किया? Had he gotten a message from the dressing room? Oh, he should have just asked for, shoe का spike खराब हो गया मेरा. Please, I want that change. So people are expecting nuanced time delay in tactics, and they just want to see this. Which I mean, the problem here is the hand, because had Gulbuddin just fallen off, I don't think anybody would have mattered. But this is like Rod बोलता है, go down, go down. मैं जाता हूँ, मैं जाता हूँ. तू tension मत ले. It was the I mean, I can't even not laugh about it when I'm talking about it, because it's a genuinity of the action that I'm happy to do anything that makes my team win. He's happy to take that fine, and I mean he was true to his character that he hobbled off and then came running back to bowl, and then he also took a wicket. So I mean, it is just down now. See, there are times when you are okay with an action, but you're not okay with the consequence. Now, because it's knocked Australia off, and oh, how did they make his here? It's also one of those things where you don't want this to happen. Of course, we're not saying कि भाई आप ये करो, but it's happened now. It will happen आगे also. Yes, if you want to find him, please do it. You don't want to set a precedent where it's okay to fake an injury of sorts. Fair, that's for him and the match referee to decide. But there is no guarantee that it's going to stop. और बाकी नाइब साहब को थोड़ा रोल तो मिलेगा कहीं ना कहीं पे, वो I'm sure of.
100%. And the thing is, I don't think even Afghan players themselves were sort of expecting something like this. Rashid Khan himself was shocked.
The best thing actually in that moment was how mature, if you can, I wouldn't say call it mature, also how instinctive Rashid was that I don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
So that I think was a very good initiative that management also knew. And the point is this was not planned. So they see the rain. Trot is like, okay, let's try and slow the game down. Now Gulbuddin Naik can't think of anything else, so he just falls off. So he hasn't even given it a thought. Thoda sochta to he also would have done something else. So I think it's just the genuinity of it, and also the less time. Itna quickly it happened that I don't think they had anything else to think about. So, but yeah, of course we'll keep talking about it.
100%. I mean, everyone is talking about it right now, so we cannot not talk about it and address it, of course. Nihal, don't worry, we've seen your question. We'll definitely take it in due course. पहले match का पूरा खत्म कर देते हैं बस इसीलिए. Hugh Wavegan, again, seems like a new name. Make sure you subscribe to us if you haven't already, and also hit the like button, guys. Come on. Pathetic batting from Bangladesh. They never deserved to win. They played for the cash prize of the match and not for qualifying. They should repent. Agree with you there. I mean, that's what, like, we have no clue what the thought process was. मतलब क्या सोच के आए थे वहां पे. Initially, they did begin with the thinking कि यार 12 ओवर में खत्म करने की कोशिश करते हैं, फिर देखते हैं क्या होता है. But again, it was just very weird. Jeet, one last bit of formality. Top performer, we can't look past Rashid Khan. IPL कुछ खास गया नहीं था. We were all wondering if the injury has probably, completely diminished his abilities, his skill sets and whatnot. But boy, did he deliver today. First with the bat and then with the ball in the second innings.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it wasn't so easy in the second innings because, as we talked about it, there was a lot of range and the ball was quite wet. So he had to rely on the sliders a lot more. So the ball was skidding on, and that's how Swami Sarkar also was undone. So he was very smart. Even that wicket of Mehmudullah, that was outstanding because neither did I think that was out, nor did the commentators think that was out. But actually, Mehmudullah had nicked it, and also a lot of credit to Ishaq behind the stumps, who did a phenomenal job as a stand-in wicket keeper for Mehmudullah Gurbaz. So fantastic on his part as well. But Rashid, man, absolute class. He stepped up when he was required to. With the bat, that 19 of 10 ended up being a huge, huge difference and had a huge influence on the eventual outcome. Of course, in Bangladesh did not really plan well because Rashid Khan is very whippy with the way he bats. He's got fast hands. He waits for pace on the ball. So you have got to take the pace off and let him manufacture that pace. But wahan par, Tanzim Hassan had different plans. They got back, but impactful innings with the bat and very, very impactful in the middle overs to, take out Mehbulullah, and then the very next ball, Rishad as well. So it was fantastic on this part.
Yep, and Rashid, again, once again, we cannot stress enough on the bowling changes as well. We'd spoken about this during the Afghanistan-Australia game as well. Even today, sure, the Nabi thing did not work out. The second over of Nabi went for 10 runs. Immediately course-corrected, understood, okay, it's not Nabi's turn here. Irrespective of वहाँ पे left, right, जो भी है, Noor को बुलाया. 4 overs on the trot, कराया उससे. Brought in Naveen-ul-Haq. It would have been very tempting. You cannot even deny that. Had they gone to Fazal Farooqi in the end overs as well, bhai, wickets ले रहा है तो जाते हैं. He still went back to Kulbadeem Naib, stuck with him, and boy, again, everyone stood up. When it came to bowling, there was hardly any loose and anything that Bangladesh could exploit. So you can't really sort of not look at that. Great performance. Again, we cannot sort of stress enough. What this also means is Afghanistan, South Africa will clash in the semi-finals, which will ensure that bhai, we will at least see one first-time finalist this edition. So happy with that. Yes, Jeet?
Yeah, there's one more thing on Rashid's part. He knows that he's one of the best outfielders in the side. So despite being the skipper, he had stationed himself at the boundary. Of course, for two reasons. A, because he's one of the best outfielders in the side, and second, so that he can have a chat with Jonathan Short at Wayne Brow. So these are small things, but really, really smart on his part to be doing these things and planning them out really, really well. So kudos to him for that as well.
100%. Could not agree with you more there. Let's just take a few comments. A lot of questions about Bangla cricket and whatnot. Let's take Nihal Kumar's question first. What is the reason for the fall of Bangla cricket? Why this loss of Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan is also a fall of Asian cricket in general? Is Asia losing its dominance, where we're seeing that cricket in allied nations is rising? Let's stick to Bangla cricket for the timing, because Bangladesh abhi khela hai. The way I look at it, 2015 to 19, that period was probably their golden era. 2015, they didn't do too badly. 2017, Champions Trophy, they almost made it through to the final. Semis tak aa gaye the wo. Even the 2016 World Cup gave India a run for their money. Almost won that game. Almost could have qualified through to the next round. 2019, we know what Shakib did. What that bowling attack did. Mashrafe Mortaza rallied his troops around. Fantastic performance there. But uske baad, it's just been downhill. Jeet, let's start with you. What do you sort of pinpoint the reason to? Sure, there'll be a bunch of them. Talent hai ki board hai ki kya hai issue wahan pe?
The lack of talent, to theek hai, that's one of the things. But I feel they've got to do better at preparing pitches back home. Throughout har jagah pe in Bangladesh, we get to see the same kind of pitch, slow tracks that take a lot of turns. So they are able to develop those finger spinners, but the batter is not really developing. So as soon as you see a flat pitch, it's very actually different, to the other batters or the other nations, where flat tracks where they actually end up struggling a bit. They finished under par with the bat because they are not used to those kind of tracks back home. So whenever they find a pitch that is slightly tacky in nature or suits the spinners, they do well. But as soon as it's a pitch which is true to its nature, which has a decent bounce, decent pace, they start struggling. So one of the things they need to do is prepare better pitches back home, to have the batters also used to those kind of pitches and see the quality in them. Kharab pitches prepare karke, you are not going to see the quality of batters. वो लोग को chance ही नहीं मिलता है यार. कितना ही खेलेंगे ऐसे spinners के सामने. So you've got to have better tracks being prepared at home. And secondly, of course, talent is also a bit of an issue. BPL is also not really giving a rise to so many of the stars. We're seeing the same names really cropping up year after year. So that's nothing they need to look after. And like I also mentioned, wrist spinners are not in abundance over there. That's a big issue. And that's one of the key reasons why we see Bangladesh batters struggling against wrist spin as well at the international level. That's what happened with Rashid Khan as well. That's why Rashid Khan succeeded. This has been a historic thing. Jab Bangladesh mein koi wrist spinners now, how are they going to prepare against those kind of spinners? They're bound to struggle. It's going to happen. So a few of these things need to be looked at. Get rid of those anchors that you've got. You've got anchors in plenty here. Just start backing young talent. Bring them in. Your bowling attack is sorted. There is no issue as far as your paces are concerned. Your spinners are also fairly good. Rishad Hossain is an outstanding player. But batters, you need to do something about that. We have seen the brand of cricket that Tawheed Hridoy has played this time around. Liton Das has the talent, that's fine. Tanzim Hassan didn't come to the party, but at least over there may be intent. Afif Hossain was sitting out there in the reserves. He should have been in the squad. So there are these things that need to be looked at, but it's the batting forefront where they need a massive reshuffle. Something needs to be done back home there.
I mean, Nikhil, bhai, again, just sort of pushing that question or sort of going forward with that conversation. I remember leg spinners ki kami thi. Bangladesh came up with this unique solution jahan pe every team in the domestic circuit was supposed to play a leg spinner. This happened 2-3 years ago jahan pe they enforced the rule ki har squad mein ek leg spinner hona chahiye, aur if I'm not wrong, har 11 mein bhi hona chahiye tha. I don't remember the specifics of it. But how do they sort of solve for this batting problem that they have, the lack of intent? Zakir Ali jaisa banda bhi zyada khel nahi paya, matches nahi mil raha because the likes of Shanto are still in the 11 now that he's been made skipper. Is there any solution to that?
I think the best solution to this is firstly to have a vision. Firstly, to have a captain and a board that is happy to have a long term vision. I think they've been very desperate in terms of wanting very quick results. Those very quick results are not going to help you. See, you can call people home and you can smash them on your decks. But the point is, even the people who are losing there, they know that the moment there is something in the deck that is better for the batters, they are going to get found out. So the point here is you cannot have these small wins today, but lose the greater war tomorrow. So to the point that Jeet said, this is something we discussed even about India and the pitches that we've had in Test cricket in India. That when you have pitches like these, you are not really growing your players. Your players are not learning skills. The players are just relying on what they already know, and you're just sticking to that. There is no way a new guy who's say new to the system is learning how to bat for a 40-50 over a period of time because there is no value in it. वो T20 अगर वो वैसा डेक पे खेल रहा है जहां पे even 120 is par in a T20, why would he want to just build an innings? He would rather play his shots and get out. So I think it's a problem in terms of intent, mindset, and the entire system coming to. You spoke about them having a great time. That is because you had Mushraf and Murtaza at help, and you see the rewards that you are seeing now in terms of what he did then. All this takes time. You cannot just immediately expect results. At this point of time, you had a fast bowling lineup. You have a fast bowling lineup of Tanzim, Taskin, Fizz, and there are a couple of back home. And Saifuddin abhi nahi hai system mein वैसे hasn't been playing regularly or what, but you still have these options ready. Why did it happen? Because somebody took that initiative for you in the past to bring them in the game. I think with the batting also, the moment you start having decks, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि you call England and give them flat decks. No, don't do that. Of course, have spin bowling wickets, but at least in your own domestic structure, try and have options like these. And dude, if you go back to Soumya Sarkar, what are you then trying to do with it in terms of he's opened, he's batted at six, he's played the all-rounder. What is the role of him? So I think it's a bit of everything combined, whether it is the board, whether it is the players, and Shakib comes out in the press conference and says, I wonder why we wanted to chase. You cannot have a mindset this and to the point of Imtiaz, Chandika he's been the guy who's been there enough. So while this is a great motivation that okay, you want to make them play without freedom, but the batting moves are too big for them to just figure out just by playing by freedom. वो skills पहले होने चाहिए for them to be able to execute it. Das also scored today. He's had a long lean patch. ऐसा नहीं चलेगा यार. You can't have the same guy batting 3, 4, 5 and then opening also. So role clarity, pura, as Jeet said, a proper reset has to be done in terms of क्या करना है and then plan reverse order.
Just to close this out, most of the top teams, they are the bosses on flat decks. So they struggle on slower surfaces. Bangladesh would be those rare teams that goes the other way around, where, on sluggish surfaces, they know the bowlers are going to come to the party. They're probably going to restrict opponents to 120, 130. And they have the batters to chase down 120, 130. But if it's a flat pitch, they don't have batters who can score 170, 180 or even go beyond 200. And that is the reason why, these kind of pitches come into play. So, like Nick said, don't do it in BPL. Forget BPL. Domestic jo chal raha hai, your 50 overs, your 20 overs, proper domestic tournaments, have better surfaces to kind of see the kind of talent you've got. Yeah? Otherwise, nahi chalega. This kind of format, this kind of trend cannot continue in every tournament. I know they have done well at times, but more or less, by and large, this has been the issue in terms of the pitches. Flat pitches, they are getting found out. Yeah? That is not done. Your bowlers get exposed. Your batters don't have the gears to make merry on such kind of pitches. So hopefully they'll probably look into this.
Yeah, definitely. We hope that, performances like these, results like these come with a trigger of some sort. The board also understands that, yeah, there is a reset required. There is a much needed change that has to happen, because you see Afghanistan clearly now going past Bangladesh when it comes to, performances, results, and whatnot. You also know that Nepal is lurking around the corner. They themselves aren't doing bad for themselves. They almost defeated Bangladesh, if you guys remember the game against. The game between the two sides in the first round. I know, I mean, the scorecard might reflect a 20-run win for Bangladesh, but they ran them very close, which is why it is imperative that Bangladesh understand कि भाई क्या हो गया, understand, introspect properly, what issues are there, and also focus on solving for it. Hopefully, yeah, they will be able to come good, because they definitely have the talent. I don't think talent is that big an issue, but yeah, the board, the politics, the management side of things, that needs to change, that needs to be clear, that needs to be removed from the system to understand कि भाई ये जरूरत नहीं है. Let us just focus on playing and cricket, and yeah, hopefully they will see the results also follow suit. Anyways, that's that from the game. Lots more to talk about, but yeah, like we had a comment earlier from Vikas, if I'm not wrong, it was, yeah, can we just have the watch trending session for half an hour? Can't get over the memes. Lot of memes to talk about, lot of memes to look at. So let's go quickly to the second round, which of course is watch trending. पहली बार मतलब ट्वीट्स मीम्स ये सब ढूंढते ढूंढते मतलब आई जस्ट वेंट इनटू वन रैबिट होल आई मीन इनटू वन रैबिट होल टू अनदर मतलब आई जस्ट couldn't get out of it and the sheer creativity मतलब भाई गजब है लोग let's just have the graphic out there you go first one of course yep most would have stopped the bowler tied a loose shoelace to do something like that but Gulbadi Naib decided to take it to the next level. It was almost like ट्रॉट ने बोला भाई मैच रोकनी है गुलबदी गुलबदी नाइब को सुना ऑस्कर जीतना है बस और कुछ नहीं nothing in between just went for it all. I mean great again great theatrics. And second of course is Australia and how they knew कि भाई अफगानिस्तान को हारना है but they also knew कि बांग्लादेश भी अच्छे से नहीं जीत सकता because they themselves could qualify. Australia when Bangladesh hits a boundary and they also when Bangladesh hit a second boundary in the very same over they just don't know. I feel for Australia that's because they were sort of running the tightrope so thinly कि भाई इधर भी नहीं हो सकता उधर भी नहीं हो सकता बस एकदम बीच का रास्ता पकड़ के जाना है. And thirdly, of course, it was the Rajasthan Royals official handle. No context. Afghanistan versus Bangladesh. बस that's it. जिनको समझ आया उनको समझ आया. अभी उसमें हम ज्यादा विचार विमर्श नहीं करेंगे. And then, of course, Ashwin, red card for Gulbadi Naib. Come on, what is this? अरे भाई क्या करे यार लेकिन गजब तो था वो entertainment. Next, of course, was a tweet. After watching a game, a thriller rather, till midnight, there's another knockout game at 6 in the morning. Me to ICC. सांस तो लेने दे बे. And क्या करे भाई सांस तो ले नहीं पाए लेकिन मजा तो आया तो ठीक है सह लेंगे थोड़ा. Wasim Jafar, of course, with the third tweet. No context, T20 World Cup. Of course, it's the Australian players singing the Bangla anthem. And yep, they would have been singing it in unison, but unfortunately did not really yield any positive results for them. Not that we're complaining, but
and exactly. Poor Josh Hazelwood, he wanted to manipulate a result against Scotland, but yeah, Bangladesh couldn't manipulate a result for them.
To think, no, matlab, Australia was so confident of themselves, and again, the thing is, the discourse always is so polarizing. Abhi all of a sudden, Pat Cummins has become an arrogant prick. कितना arrogant है बंदा देखो वहां पे बोलता है definitely. अरे भाई ना तो रिजल्ट उसके हाथ में था ना ये रिजल्ट उसके हाथ में था. उसने जो बोला तब भी बोला था उस बार जब जीता. Which is why we need to understand that the discourse cannot be just result oriented. Pat Cummins is a sort of torchbearer because ODI World Cup jeeta. Tab silencing the crowd isn't arrogant. But now him saying कि definitely Australia will make it through to the semis and them not making it through makes him arrogant. पता नहीं भाई मतलब आप कहाँ कैसे देखते हो but ठीक है. All in all, great fun for sure. And that was that from Watch Trending. Lots of fun, lots of memes. And before I forget, of course, there's one more segment to go. The all-important segment where we discuss the semis, the two games that are going to happen on the 25th, or rather the 27th of June, Thursday, of course. Let's quickly go to the last segment of the episode in what we call Let's Look Ahead. Chalo bhai, let's look at, of course, just the two games remaining before the grand final on the 28th of June, or 29th of June, sorry, Saturday that is. Let's have the graphic out first. It's, of course, South Africa taking on Afghanistan in semi-final one, and that's coming live from Trinidad, and that's at 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time. And secondly, it's India taking on England in semi-final two, and that game's coming live from Guyana. Guys, let's start with the first, of course. South Africa, Afghanistan, two teams that have never made the finals ever before. We are going to see a first time finalist, of course, from this semi final in particular. Jeet, let's start with you on that. Thoughts on the surface on how South Africa have come through, how Afghanistan have come through. Who's our favorites?
Not too sure. Again, I don't know about the surface because we've seen the surface previously and it has been very different. It's been quite flat in the warm up game as well that was played. After that, also, a couple of games saw the track being fairly flat. At least one of the better surfaces in the Caribbean for the batters. So I don't know what kind of a pitch will be prepared for this one. So a lot literally rides upon that. Depending upon the pitch, you can take a call about who start as the favorites because both the teams have the momentum. So momentum is not an issue. It's just about who has won more convincingly, who's feeling more confident on the given day. South Africa, of course, having won all the 6 games, but most of them have been very, very close games. So they know that, even if they end up with a power score, they can still defend it. And that is the belief you get after winning such close encounters. On the other hand, Afghanistan have, of course, defeated Australia. So there's no better mental gain than that one. Then, of course, today what happened with Bangladesh. So they are also riding high on confidence. But as we often talk about this particular format and in particular the knockout games where everything comes down to the given day, anything can happen. Anybody can literally win the game, and that is what we have seen throughout this tournament as well. Forget knockouts. Anything can happen on given day. So it's kind of hard to see who's really going to start as favorites. Of course, personally, I would like to see Afghanistan make it through, but at the end of the day, I won't be too unhappy even if South Africa makes it through because even they have been one of the stronger teams for pretty much every edition, but have always fallen short. But again, knockout game, South Africa, you've got plenty of reasons to be worried because that is where they start faltering. That is where the batting starts to falter. And more than that, that is where the fielding starts to falter. We saw that in the previous game. It was a virtual knockout, but the fielders were faltering. They were feeling the pressure, whether it was catches being put down or even the misfields. So you don't want to see something similar again repeat this time around as well. So that is the one thing they need to take care of. Afghanistan have most of the things sorted. It's just that they are very heavily reliant on the openers. So they can just hope that the middle order comes to the party, or if they need that run rate to go up significantly, then they need to be open to the option of Rashid Khan promoting himself up the order, not keeping him, for the last 2 overs. So these kind of minor things will be on the show there.
Definitely. I mean, what's going to be in Afghanistan's favor is the fact that this is their first time playing a semi-final, so no memories haunting them, nothing like that. It's a clean slate where they'll just sort of come fresh into the game. So they will be riding high. The adrenaline will be pumping. We're still unaware about Rahmanullah Gurbaz's fitness. Kya scene hoga wahan pe? Is he going to be available? Because that'll be a huge, huge, huge blow. Highest run getter in the tournament so far. Highest run scorer for Afghanistan, obviously in multiple games. Nikhil bhai, again, in terms of how the two sides stack up, another thing going for Afghanistan is the fact that so far all the games that have happened are only Group C encounters from the first round. Jahan pe it was West Indies, New Zealand, Afghanistan, all of them playing here. South Africa, on the other hand, wouldn't have played here at all in the World Cup so far. Do you think that is something that they might want to look into?
Yeah, fair call. My only worry for that semi-final is what do they do if they lose a couple of early wickets? Because I think that's the only place where I feel Afghanistan will really be pushed because South Africa have a lot of options in terms of variety. That you have a guy who is going to hit the deck in Rabada. You'll have left arm angle to counter first up with Jansen, who has the knack of bowling a lot of wides. Well, he'll take out the key wicket early. And Ibrahim Zadaran has had issues against left arm pace. Gurbaz bhi out hua hai, but Gurbaz will be troubled by Keshav Maharaj. Now, slow left arm ke khilaf, Ibrahim also has had his own struggles, and today he would have been caught by Shakib. So, to me, as Jeet said, the problem for me only lies in their batting order. That how do they go about their batting? Now, two ways to look at it. As you said, South Africa to me, Makram's been very proactive. That against West Indies also, he was not too worried about Arimena Rabada of the ball in India. He was very happy to just go by the flow at that point of time that, okay, this is what's working, I'll stick to it. So that is fair on South Africa's part. If they are batting first in terms of Afghanistan, can they really hold innings again till 10 overs? I'm not too sure of that against South Africa because you have a lot of options there. Rabada hai, Jansen hai, uske baad middle overs you'll have extra pace of Nokia. So you will have to use. Now Navi's had his own struggles against short stuff. So who do you promote there? Do you promote Omar Zai at continue to stick with him at 3, or do you have Karim coming in earlier? So they have the batting talent, and again, the pitch makes it even more spicier. Ke agar par score is 140, then it is still fine for them to hold themselves back. Ke, okay, we don't care if we are 40 for 0 after 6 overs, but we do not want to lose a wicket. So I feel eventually South Africa start a bit more favorites because even if they lose a couple early, they have Miller, Klaasen, Stubbs who are more adept at adapting to different challenges. Of course, Rashid Noor can be very handy, but Noor is yet to have a great game. Maybe the next 2 games might be the ones where he has them. So my only worry is for Afghanistan's batting. I trust their bowling to do the job. But even if they have to chase a score of 140 and they lose 2 very early, it's going to take something really special after that.
Interesting. It's definitely not going to be easy for either of the sides. And Jeet, again, sure, 4 games have been played so far, but 3 of them have involved either or both of Papua New Guinea and Uganda. So it's hard to sort of, derive or take any insights from such games. The one game, but you can take sort of some heart from or some reference from is the West Indies New Zealand encounter that happened here. West Indies were down and out 70 odd for 5. Sherfin Rutherford then came back. Then New Zealand somehow managed to crumble and, of course, fell short by 13 runs in their chase and their pursuit for 150. Knowing the surface, knowing that game and how that panned out, how do you expect Afghanistan to look at this? Because, again, batting-wise, we know they're heavily reliant. So do they sort of look at bringing in some new personnel into their batting lineup? Is that something they should look at, or just stick to what's sort of work for them? Just don't bother trying to change anything over there. That's the question for you. And secondly, who is going to be the X factor, the key player, the guy who will make or break it for Afghanistan?
So I think they'll probably look to stick to the same 11. I don't see how they're going to change that. Of course, Karoti hasn't really bowled a lot. He's probably just bowled the 1 over. So they would still not want to change the winning combination. But Afghanistan, even today, they knew how the surface is going to behave. So their aim was indeed 130, 135 as verified by Rashid Khan. That is what they were aiming for. So they know that if they get to that, they've got the bowlers to defend it. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. So if they assess the pitch, of course, not to forget Dwayne Bravo is a local lad as well. So he would have a lot of knowledge as well. So they're probably going to get a lot of inputs from him. And it's going to be trustworthy input. So you can probably bank upon that. And if he says that, hey, you know what, if you're batting first, get to 140, we should be able to win it. So they are going to aim to play to get to that particular mark of 140. But coming to pitches, you know what most of these venues in the Caribbean have is that they have multiple pitches and they all behave quite differently. We've seen that in St. Lucia at time to time. But even at Trinidad, if you remember, there was a warm-up game between Australia and West Indies, and there was another one between Australia and Namibia. Both were very high-scoring encounters. But come the first game between West Indies and New Zealand, it was very, very different. So that goes on to show that one particular venue could have 2 very, very differently behaving pitches. So for this game, we don't know how the pitch is going to behave or which pitch they are going to use. But assuming that it's going to be a tacky one that was used for the West Indies or New Zealand game, then I believe Afghanistan would know how to go about it, and they'll bank upon Dwayne Brao's experience of those pitches and plan it out accordingly. But in terms of X factor, it's something to think about. But I'd probably still stick to Rashid Khan only. Noor Ahmed, it's like we talked about during the IPL as well. The lines are not really attacking enough, so he does not bring the stumps into play a lot. And we saw that today as well, where most of his balls were wrong ones that are spinning outside the off stump to the right handers. But Rashid Khan, we know that he attacks his stumps a lot more often. So that's again going to hold the key in middle overs because, of course, there is David Miller with whom Rashid plays a lot. There is Hendrik Klaasen, who's a fantastic batter of spin. So you have those 2 very, very key components in the South African middle order. If you nip them out, you can probably win the game. So again, it's going to rely upon what Rashid Khan does in the middle overs. If need be, he can even probably introduce himself in the fifth or sixth over if Afghanistan are off to a bad start and are unable to make a quick breakthrough. So it's probably Rashid versus the South African middle order, which is going to hold the key here.
Fair enough. All right. So that means Najib will once again stay out. Karuti will hold on to a spot. At least by the looks of it, we are still unsure. अगर उनको लगता है कि change करना चाहिए तो कर सकते हैं वहाँ पे. Akash meanwhile saying, bro, you never reply to my comments. भाई आप करो तो सही. हम करेंगे अपने को क्या है? We are absolutely indiscriminate when it comes to that. Last question, Nikhil bhai. Same question that I asked Jeet, but for South Africa, who do you think is the guy who can make it or break it for South Africa come the semi-finals in Trinidad?
Yeah, for me, it remains Aiden Markram. Not just with the bat, but on the field, because you've seen that already with a couple of catches. You've seen that already with the fielding changes. I think the game will probably also be decided by whether they want to go with the extra pace of Bartman or do they stick to Samshi. And how do Afghanistan counter Tabrez on that angle? Because if there is hold and spin in the surface, then it is going to be very, very interesting because they have paired their bowling very well in terms of you have Jansen starting up along with Rabada, at times Maharaj, and then Makram comes in, and then Nokia is bowling only in the middle overs. So you'll have extreme pace and wrist spin. Both of them are going to be very, very difficult for Afghanistan to counter if they don't have people who are set at the wicket. So I think Makram's captaincy and again his runs. Now Afghanistan do not have anybody with the left arm angle to bother him, left arm spin angle. And I expect, if not this one, then maybe the next game. But he could potentially, run away with a good player of the match performance with both bat and ball.
Go, you've heard it in terms of players, matchups, battle, surface, and lots more from semi-final one. There's of course one more semi-final for us to talk about. It's of course the much anticipated clash. India taking on England. The game's coming live from Guyana, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 27th of June. Guys, that's also going to be another mouth-watering clash. Nikhil bhai, let's start with you again. India, England bhai, matlab already two top teams, semi-finals. We know what happened the last time these two clashed in the T20 World Cup semi-final. Hopefully not a repeat.
Well, this is the actual revenge game if there ever was one, not the one that happened yesterday. Because India were far more safer than wasn't a knockout for them. But very great game for the same batch. And I think it just, some story just writes itself. No, we've all dissed the 2022 batch of that T20 squad and how they played their cricket and how they've come through and how Rohit played yesterday was a testament to the fact that they lost Virat early, but when Stark bowled full, he was like, no, I'm going for it no matter what happens. So it's going to be a test of character. I think all of us when we met for that squad discussion, all of us expected them to make it to the semis because they that good. But eventually, it's on those two lottery days that do you have it in you to be able to be brave. So I'm looking at how they plan. Again, there isn't a left-handed opener for them to be worried about, like how it was his head, because they had a. I don't know if you guys discussed this in detail about their plans to Travis it, but yesterday I felt there wasn't any, and they tried too hard to get him out in one particular way because you saw Hardik bowling full, and eventually it took a gem from Bumrah only. You can't always rely on the same person. So they haven't used Jadeja well. They haven't. Shivam hasn't quite found the fluency. So lot of mini battles to look out for. I can't pick one battle that will decide the game because there is Kuldeep, there is Bumrah, there is Asdi versus Phil Shot and all of that. So I think a lot of good matchups for everybody to come good. So hopefully rain comes in, it rains off, and India go to the final because then we'll have another set of things to hear from the media about how this was rigged for India only and all of that. So yeah, may all of that come true.
Interesting. And again, Jeet, in some sense, the England batting lineup will be a much tougher opposition to bowl to than, say, Australia, because Australia on paper would be very formidable themselves, but a lot of batters weren't in form. Thoda idhar udhar, upar niche sab chal raha tha. With England, Butler's now, been amongst the runs. So has Phil Salt. That opening pair will be very crucial to England's plans, which is why it's equally important for India to nip it in the bud. Of course, Bumrah is going to be key there, but what of the rest of the bowlers, yaar? Matlab, how are you looking at the shaping up?
Look, the thing for England is that at least they've been fairly lucky in terms of the venues they've got. The surfaces that they've played on have more often than not been batting friendly. So be it Barbados or be it St. Lucia last time around. So they've been lucky with that. Guyana is not going to be a flat surface. At least I don't expect that to given the history of that particular venue. So it's not going to be so easy for them. But the one thing that I believe they've learned after the first game is having that left-hander being promoted based on the situation. You can't be fixated on Moeen Ali at 6 or 7. If wind is a huge factor, if dimensions are a huge factor, which they are at any venue in the Caribbean, then you need Moeen Ali up the order, which is exactly what they've done for every game after game 1 or game 2. So finally, they have been proactive in terms of utilizing Moeen Ali and his entry points with the bat. This time around, we should see something similar because they know that, of course, there are two left-arm spinners that they've got. Plus, Kuldeep Yadav is the third left-arm spinner. So, Moeen Ali will be promoted. Plus, he's very strong against left-arm spin. Whether it's wrist spin or finger spin, he's very strong. So, again, Moeen Ali is going to be promoted. And we may also see Sam Curran getting promoted as well. If they feel that Moeen Ali is struggling or if he gets out early, then even Sam Curran could be promoted. So, I believe England have learned that, which is a good thing. But the challenge is going to be bigger. They are yet to be tested on a surface that's tricky, which we haven't seen so far. So, not only surface, but also bowling attack like this, where all the bowlers are in form. Jasprit Bumrah, Arshdeep Singh, Hardik Pandya, Kuldeep Yadav, Akshay Patel, all are doing a phenomenal job. So, they've got double challenge here. So, England, it's not going to be easy. Plus, the matchups against Bumrah also don't stack up well for them. So, if they're openers are sent packing in the first 3 or 4 overs, and I feel it's going to be troubles galore for them. So they've got to be really proactive with their decision making with the batting order.
And funnily enough, Guyana, just like Trinidad, so far has hosted only Group C encounters. So a lot of Papua New Guinea, Uganda encounters. The one game that you can probably look at is the Afghanistan-New Zealand one, jहाँ पे Afghanistan bundled New Zealand out for just 75. But spin has definitely played a much bigger role here. We've seen Nikhil Hossain time and time again get those wickets. Not sure how much of it had to do with the oppositions he also faced. So we'll have to sort of, account for that as well. And so it's going to be very interesting. None of the Super 8 games have happened there. It's been a while since either of these two surfaces were used, which means it'll be just as new a surface for these sides as it is going to be for us as viewers. So lots to look forward to there and a lot of mystery for sure. Quick Subhendu meanwhile asks, should India take a gamble by introducing Chahal in place of Jadeja? So Jadeja was a conversation we had for a very long time in yesterday's watch along, especially. We spoke about him at length in terms of what value he brings. But given the kind of performances he's put up, both with the bat and the ball, it clearly is visible that bhai Rohit Sharma backs Akshay Patel, the bowler, ahead of Jadeja. He has been bowling the tough overs and he's done well, importantly. So, Jeet, let's start with you. Jadeja, do you see him potentially going out? And if so, who do you think makes, sort of makes a comeback or makes it into the side? Is it Chahal? Is it Siraj potentially? Kya lag raha hai wahan pe?
So if the change had to happen, it would have already happened. And it's something I wanted a long time ago, but now it's long gone. So just forget it. I don't want or I don't even see India tinkering with the playing 11 that has worked. They won't change it anymore. I know Ravindra Jadeja is trying to stay relevant because if you have observed, he started bowling those Akil Hossain type of deliveries where he flicks it and the ball actually hoops into the right handers. So he's trying to stay relevant as much as he can. But yeah, of course, his contribution has been very less, be it with the bat or be it with the ball. Yesterday, he put down a catch as well. But anyway, that's a different thing. But now you don't want to tinker with your playing 11. Yeah, it is something that has worked. So up change mat karo. Karna tha to already you could have done that. Sadly, opening pair also has not been working out. So that is where I wanted Yashasvi to start in the first game itself. But now I don't see why India should be changing anything. If it ever happens somehow, by any chance, Rahul Dravid wakes up and decides, "Bhai, mera ho gaya, I'm done with Jadeja, I've lost my patience, I've given enough opportunities." Then the only change possible is, of course, Yashasvi Jaiswal coming in for Jadeja. That's the only change I see. That way, it allows Jaiswal to open and have struggling Virat Kohli back at number 3. We've got bowling options. That is not an issue. Jadeja, anyway, is not contributing so much to the ball either. So that's very solid. So if that change has to happen, that is the only swap I see. Otherwise, I don't see how Chahal is going to come into the playing 11. Siraj an outside chance, but I don't see how India is going to compromise on an extra batter here.
Interesting that Nikhil bhai, again, very valid points those. But Jaiswal coming in would also mean that India will have just the 5 bowlers. So Akshay Patel will have to be relied upon to execute those 4 overs. And we earlier spoke about Moeen Ali, the likes, who would fancy their chances against him. क्या लगता है आपको ये हो सकता है? Do you see this change happening?
See, as he said, I don't think it's likely. As he said, if it was to happen, it would have happened by now. In fact, actually, England is a team that I don't mind bowling a lot of Jadeja also, because there are a lot of right-handers there who take their time to start their innings. So you have Johnny Baba there, you have Livingston there, and again, Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, if you're not going to get them out with your bowling, then I don't think you should even be part of the setup. So even I think if I remember, Jadeja had Sam Curran out, caught at long off in the game between Punjab and Chennai as well. So again, using the angle, going around the wicket and asking him to hit, to the larger part, and wind again, like we discussed in the previews, wind has played a part in every single game and it will continue to play its part. For the change, I think the only guy who could have possibly gone out was Shivam Dube, because he's lacked any fluency. And Estabaneke, he's gone for it and not got it through, hold out at defense. So fluency has been missing. But there are too many can of worms that you open when you get in Jaiswal. Because then Rishabh Pant, who's finally working at 3, then you are batting him out of spot. Sky by entry point, you will have to mess up. We'll have to mess up Hardik's entry point. So I think it opens a needless can of worms. Genuinely hoping Akshay Patel is back more, because even yesterday I felt to Travis said they should have tried. It was a great day to try Akshay Patel more. I mean, the worst thing that could have happened is he would have gone for 2 6s. Anyways, others were going for those runs. So that's I felt where an opportunity was lost, because Akshay Patel is not your regular option against left-handed batters. He's actually good enough. You just see the over that he bowled to Iman Wasim. No, Iman Wasim also is a decent enough hitter of the ball, and eventually it's about using the angle. So I don't think that will be a problem, and I don't see any change happening. And interestingly, the ball reversed in that game against Australia. So conditions are going to be very, very paramount, because Arshdeep also closing out and starting very importantly against Phil Salt. Because most likely you will not see spin to Phil Salt and Butler. But if Arshdeep can get his lines right, and see, to me, India depend a lot on new ball wickets. If they do not get new ball wickets, everybody in that lineup will be under pressure. So Arshdeep's new ball spell, in my opinion, is going to be massively important, because if we can get even one of Butler or Salt out, it puts that middle order under a lot of pressure of England.
Yeah, 100%. England can be put under a lot of pressure. Power play में अगर जल्दी wickets मिलते हैं तो वहाँ पे निखिल भाई बेचारे दिल पे पत्थर रख के शिवम दुबे, रविंद्र जडेजा, सीएसके के नाम उठाते हुए वहाँ
कोई
पे.
बात नहीं, वो इतना अपन नहीं है, कोई बात नहीं. Team
अच्छा
comes
हम
first.
fair enough. But last question for both of you. One player from either side that you think can make or break the game for their respective sides. I'll go first. For India, has to be Bumrah. यार मैं सीधा obvious नाम उठाता है ताकि आप दोनों को कोई मैं मौका नहीं दूंगा. Like बुमराह तो मैं आंख बंद करके तो मार्स पे भी जाके खेलोगे ना, तुम एलियन से जाके खेलोगे तो भी बुमराह ही रहेगा. सिर्फ बुमराह है और कोई नहीं इंडिया के लिए. For England, I've been thinking actually किसके साथ जाऊं? Do I go with the bowler? Do I go with the batter? I'll go with Adil Rashid. I really like what I've seen of him. He's bowled well, shown a lot of consistency, and has that knack of picking wickets. Or jab wo leta, he sort of has this tendency to take 3-4 wickets as well. So if he gets on a roll, it'll be very difficult for India to come good, because pata hai apne ko, even Shivam Dube for that matter, despite him being known as a spin hitter, has a weakness against leg spin. We all know that numbers has been dismissed 7 times by leg spinners. So again, could sort of potentially go in England's favor. So these are the 2 names I'm going for. Nikhil bhai, next.
Mainly it is simple, easy. Both all-rounders, Hardik Pandya and Sam Curran. Hardik Pandya, because he's played a key role bowling all 4 overs, and for some reason I get the vibes of how he took a 3 for very early in one of the T20Is where the ball swung a bit in, at the start. If there is rain, there is overcast conditions. If you want Hardik to be the guy who bowls the 5th over, then he can do that from there. And of course, with the batting, if India bat first to 100%, yes. From England, Sam Curran, point that Jeet said, he will be promoted. there is no way you can just line up righties in an order. I would have actually wanted to go for Brook and Shivam Dube, but I don't know how they will be used. So I think Brook and Shivam Dube both have the games to open the game up for their side. But all-rounder FC to Hardik Sam first, but Brook or Shivam के बारे में भी सोचेंगे.
All right, interesting. Jeet, what about you?
For India, I'll go for Akshar Patel, and that is purely after having watched Gurukesh Moti operate a lot at Guyana. I believe Akshar also is going to come into play. And if India stick with the same 11, it will force them to ball Akshar Patel in the power play and have that luxury, of course. So Akshar Patel straight away could be a matchup against Butler and Salt if the track is actually a little bit tacky. So he's going to be one of my names for India. And for England, I'm thinking Reece Stockley. Again, that left arm angle to Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma on the surface, that's not going to be so simple. And of course, Virat Kohli is historically, I've seen him struggle against Reece Stockley as well. So that's probably that matchup straight away that you're going to get with Reece Stockley versus the two Indian right-handed openers.
All right, fair enough. A lot of names taken. Once again, a lot of matchups discussed. Two exciting encounters coming our way on Thursday. Super 8s are done. First round is done. Everything's done. Just 3 games to go. Just 4 teams remaining. Let's see who will it be to lift the title this time around. Will it be a defending champion? Will it be a first-time winner? Will it be a supposed choker? सब है भाई, सारे options अभी भी available हैं. Group A से एक टीम आ गया, Group B से एक टीम आ गया, Group C से एक टीम आ गया और Group D से भी एक टीम आ चुका है यहाँ पे. So fingers crossed, we'll have 2 exciting games that we will be talking about come Thursday, the 27th of June. Anyways, that's that from today's episode of What's Up World Cup. Thank you so much for all of you tuning in. I know it's a work day and whatnot, but इतने exciting game के बाद भाई लोगों का तो आना बनता ही है. So thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back on Thursday. Nikhil bhai, of course, will be doing his fantasy shows and whatnot. See you guys then. Terrific Tuesday done. Terrific Thursday remains. A goodbye from all of us. Ta-da.
Bye.